Hey guys, it's Troy coming at you with another video from London, where it is becoming very autumnal indeed actually. I'm sitting outside a cafe and yeah, it's kind of getting a bit cold. Got the old winter coat on for the first time, had it on over the weekend for the first time this year. Anyway, with that being said, I wanted to touch on a topic that gets put to me quite a lot, and that is basically, can dating coaching ever work? You know, is this thing, this dating coaching thing, is it actually a thing, and can it be beneficial to guys, or is it just a complete scam? Because, you know, if you look at the comment section on my videos, you know, you'll often get people like, yeah, grifter's gonna grift, and, you know, oh, this is all bullshit, you know, whatever. And so I thought I'd address it because it's quite interesting. Well, I think it's quite interesting anyway. I mean, I suppose I would because it's my job, but I thought I'd address it anyway. And this isn't meant to be some kind of defense of myself, because I don't think I need to be defended. I mean, if you just look on my Instagram, there's a little history thing with all of my testimonials on it, and there's a lot of them. So, you know, I think it's indisputable that I personally brought a lot of value to men's lives and helped a lot of guys, but I wanted to just get into the topic anyway, because I think it's enlightening to consider the role of dating coaching, because that shines a light on some of the issues that guys, and maybe you, have in the dating arena. Okay, so obviously my take on this is going to be, yes, dating coaching can be helpful, but why is that? Well, putting it very simply, there's a small proportion of guys who, through luck and, you know, just right place, right time, and maybe they were getting a lot of attention when they were younger, you know, they were head of the football team, they were decent looking guys, whatever, who could be deemed naturals at the dating stuff, okay? They just tend to radiate a certain sense of cool, and women are drawn to them, and they don't really have much of a problem. They don't seem to have much of a problem anyway, okay? So you've got that, but as I say, that is really a minority of guys. And then you've got everybody else who, in the West anyway, have never been taught really what they need to know about intergender dynamics and how they should go down, right? How things should go down between a man and a woman. Nobody teaches you this stuff, particularly, you might argue, in this age where masculinity itself is deemed suspect. Okay, so you could make that argument, and people will make that argument a lot. They'll say, well, there aren't fathers there to teach the kids and blah, blah, blah. I think it's a bit of a spurious argument, actually, because I don't think fathers were ever really teaching their kids about how to be Riz artists anyway. I mean, certainly if you go back a couple of generations, you know, I don't think he was ever talked about, really. I mean, my father never talked about it to me, and I'm absolutely certain that his father never talked about it to him. You know, my grandfather was a fighter pilot in the RAF. I don't think he was sitting down and having talks about how to pull girls to his sons, and I'm more than certain that his father would never have had that conversation with his kids. I suppose you could say, well, they were leading by example because they were interacting with women, and the kids, you know, the sons were able to observe that, and that would then help them in their quest to have better relationships with women and all of that. But well, so the issue is that times have changed, right? I mean, even if that is the case, right? The things that you might have gotten away with in the 1950s and before. And I say gotten away with, I'm not talking about bad, nefarious things. I'm just talking about, you know, you probably could get by with being a nice guy, provider, sort of a chap, you know, with a middling salary, middling looks, middling height, and you wouldn't have had a problem finding a wife and getting settled down with her and having children and everything. It just wouldn't have been an issue. Whereas today, as we know, there's a big squeeze on guys who sort of fall to the middle or the lower end of the bell curve as far as dating and relationships is concerned. So, you know, the old knowledge, for what it was, and it wasn't really knowledge, it was just sort of going along with the societal programming of the time, it is not really of any value today anyway. So I'm not sure that fathers ever specifically taught their sons this stuff. Older brothers, possibly. Older guys that you were friends with at school, maybe, you know, but not everyone was fortunate enough to have those role models, okay? So that's a big place where so-called dating coaching can come in. Now, as I say, the vast majority of people, and I think the vast majority of people who teach this stuff, myself included, were not naturals, okay? I'm not a natural at this by any means, by any stretch of the imagination, okay? Anything that I have learned to do well over the past 20 odd years, I've had to teach myself, and I've had to find out about through reading material, through talking to other people, through trial and error, through observing what goes well. Obviously, when you're teaching this stuff as well, it's really, a peripheral benefit of teaching this stuff. It's really valuable for me because it's not only what I'm doing or what friends of mine are doing as far as dating is concerned that I'm able to draw knowledge from, but I'm also able to look at the students and look at what they're doing. Does it work? Does it not work? Okay, why doesn't it work? What might the problem be here? Etc. etc. Okay, so I've got access to really quite a vast array of data from various people, okay, myself, my students, guys who contact me online, people that I'm friends with, etc. etc. Okay, so I'm privileged in that way, so I've got a lot of access to a lot of data, and that's another benefit of having a dating coach, because if I work with you, then I can bring all of that knowledge to bear, and you're not necessarily going to have, well, you're probably almost certainly not going to have access to the same level and richness and depth of experience that I have. So that's another advantage of dating coaching. But it's odd, isn't it, that in all areas of our lives we will get mentors, we'll get coaching, right? If you want to get good at the gym, if you want to get good at a martial art like boxing, if you want to improve your business acumen, right, you might get a business coach. If you want to learn something like golf, you might get a golf teacher, right? The only area where guys seem to think it's fine to just leave it up to Lady Luck is dating. But it's stupid, because dating is the single most important element of your life. The person that you select to be your partner or your wife or your, the person that you spend the most time with, right? Your romantic partner. Incredibly important decision, okay? You need to find the right person, and you need to not get sucked in by someone who doesn't have your best interests at heart, which happens to a lot of guys, happens to women as well, but obviously this is aimed at guys, happens to a lot of guys. You've got to ensure that you are meeting enough people so that when you do decide to focus on one, okay, if you want to get into a relationship, then she's the right one, okay? And you only get that through having abundance, okay? So it's incredibly important. And yet guys will just kind of coast with it and be like, well, it's fine, I don't need to get a coach, I don't need to get a mentor. When actually they absolutely do. It's a very, very important thing. The reason, though, that dating coaching is effective is because you don't know what you don't know. It's very hard for an individual, any individual, myself included, to be able to look at themselves objectively and say, that was lame, okay, that was good, that was mediocre, that could be improved, I was a bit boring there and I could have been more interesting. It's very, very hard for anybody to, firstly, to even know the metrics by which you're being measured, okay, and that's another area where the experience of the dating coach comes in. But secondly, it's incredibly hard to understand or to see oneself, to be able to objectively view one's own performance in social situations. Very, very hard indeed. Impossible, in fact, I would say. Unless, the only thing that comes close to it is if you recorded yourself, if you had yourself videoed, if you had somebody going around following you with a video camera, and you were able to watch the videos, that it could be quite good. And if you recorded the audio and you listen back to the audios, and some guys do this, right? Some guys, when they're going out and they're trying to meet girls, they will record it and they will listen back, and that's valuable. But again, unless you've got a very high level understanding of where you should be, of how it should go down, then the likelihood is you're going to be making the wrong conclusions, even if you've got that data at hand, okay? So ideally what you want to do is get somebody with a ton of experience who's taught a bunch of, thousands of students all over the world, and get them to assess you and have a look at what you're doing, okay, and watch you in action, and then give you honest, objective feedback. Okay, so you don't really want to just do this with a mate, okay, because it's not about being mates. I mean, yeah, obviously, you know, I'm friendly with guys that I work with as students, and some of them, you know, they end up becoming friends afterwards and stuff like that. Okay, fine, but that's not the primary intent of the relationship. The primary intention of the relationship is to give honest, unvarnished feedback, to say, look, you know, to be honest, you're coming across as a bit of a flannel. Okay, to be honest, you're a bit boring. To be honest, you are X, you know, you're a bit dry, you're talking too fast, you look like shit. Okay, and remember that being effective in social skills and being effective in a dating context with social skills, it's a multi-layered thing. Okay, it's not just one thing. It's not just, right, we're going to listen to what you said and we're going to analyze what you said. That might be part of it, that is a part of it, but it's also, okay, vocal tonality, cadence, right, the speed of how quickly you talk, how loudly you speak, all right? Does your voice cut through? Do you have command presence? Okay, what's your body language like? What's your eye contact like? What's your use of touch like? Okay, how are you dressed? How do you look? How do you groom yourself? Do you stand out from the crowd, or are you a boring mofo? All right? Are you bringing all of those things together and also presenting in a way that's engaging and exciting, and, you know, she's going to want to see you again? Okay, and also, how are you reacting to her I say her, I mean just whatever woman you're interacting with. How are you reacting to her in the moment? Okay, are you passing the tests that she lays out for you, or are you falling at the first hurdle? Okay, are you looking butthurt? Are you saying stupid things that are messing up what otherwise could have worked quite well? Okay, are you laughing at your own jokes? Are there embarrassing silences? All right, are you able to return the serve in the conversation and come back with engaging things and keep the conversation going, or does it just dry up? Okay, these are all things that we need to look at in concert, okay, because it's not like there's just one thing that's gonna mess you up. I mean, it might be, in some occasions it is just one thing. If they tweak that, the student tweaks that, then things get a lot better. But for the most part, it's this melding of different aspects of what they present. Okay, and as I say, you need really to have somebody who's experienced, who can help to unpick that for you and point it out to you. Okay, now we've worked with guys. I worked with a guy in Bogota, okay, Colombia, earlier this year. And by the way, we are doing a boot camp in Bogota, Colombia, the 16th to the 20th of October. So there's still, I think, 2 spaces left. So if you're free and you're interested in coaching, excuse me, myself, James Tusk, Les, a bunch of other great coaches as well. If you're interested in that, you can email me, troy@realtroyfrancis.com, and, you know, we'll do a call. Put your WhatsApp details, we'll do a call, see if it's a good fit, see if we can get you on board for that. Could be great. But we had a guy we worked with, and he was a very articulate, you know, decently put together guy, lived in New York City, worked in finance, whatever, you know. I mean, on paper, you know, a decent catch, right, for most women, but he wasn't getting really the traction that he wanted to in terms of dating, so he came to work with us, and he's continuing to work with us. Okay, I think he's coming on this next boot camp as well. He said to us, me and James did a debrief with him at the end of the event, and he said to us, this is like dying and being reborn. Okay, now, quite a dramatic thing to say. This is like dying and being reborn, okay? He meant the coaching. And what he meant by that was that not only had we put him through his paces in terms of getting him to do a lot of different approaches, but we had completely deconstructed and rebuilt his sense of how things should go down, what was correct, what was not correct, okay, and put it back together in a way that was starting now to work for him, okay? He was starting now to get traction, and indeed, you know, he did meet women when he was there, and, you know, had a good time and all the rest of it, and he's continued that work back where he lives in his home city. So, again, powerful statement. I mean, somewhat, some might think overly dramatic, but it shows you the power of this stuff, okay? It's like dying and being reborn, okay? That can be the power of this coaching, because, again, you know, you don't know what you don't know. And the only reason that we know it is because we have accumulated experience of, you know, 25 years plus together. And also we've taught a ton of guys, okay? And when you teach a ton of guys, it's like, it becomes like a pyramid scheme of dating. It's not just us doing it. It's okay, we've got access, intimately, we've got access to what's happening with all these different guys, what's working, what's not working, okay? So at any moment, we've globally got a very, very good read on what women respond to, what works, what doesn't work as well, and we're able to pass that information on to you, okay, very quickly. Now, what all of this means is that you save a ton of time, right? Because greatest asset is your time. You know, you can get anything back, you can get money back, right? But you can earn money again, but you can't earn your time back, right? Once it's gone, okay? Your greatest asset is your time, and yes, you could spend hours or days or weeks or months or probably years trying to learn this stuff for yourself, but the difficulty is that if you don't really know how, again, I go back to the beginning, if you don't really know how it should go down in the first place, then the danger is that you just repeat bad habits and you strengthen the bad habits, okay? You don't do the correct habits, you strengthen bad habits, and you just get further into this hole, into this morass of failure, okay? And our job is to ensure that doesn't happen, to put you on the right track, to tell you very candidly what's going well for you and what's not going well, what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong, and ensure that you continue to practice the right things, okay? And what we will do, what I do, and what James Tusk does, and when we work together, what we do together, is we maintain contact with the clients after any training that we do, okay? So we will have a WhatsApp group, and you'll be able to ask us questions, and we'll be able to feed back on the situations that you're having, the encounters and the interactions that you're having. We'll be able to give you that feedback, and we'll be able to keep the tuition going, okay, through the weeks and months that follow the event, okay, or the training. And you know, if you want to do more training, obviously that's open to you as well. I mean, that's a discussion between us, but that's certainly a possibility as well. So the role of the dating coach is actually extremely important, and it can be extremely impactful, particularly for those guys who really listen and really take on the suggestions and actually do the work. And unfortunately, human nature being what it is, that's not everybody, okay? Not everybody is going to come to a dating coach and, you know, assuming the dating coach is any good in the first place, but not everybody is going to come to the dating coach and actually do what's required. And one of the problems, and often this is the case with online courses, and by the way, our online course, The Edge, we've still got a couple of spots left, so there's some details on that in the description below, so have a look at that, and if you want to join, you still can, but it is closing very soon now because we've got to start the content. But it's particularly the case with online courses, I think, where people will pay lip service to the content, but they don't really do the work. It's a little bit less the case with live events, with one-on-one training, face-to-face training, because, well, you're physically there, right? We're physically there, so you kind of have to do some of the work. But then the question is, okay, you're probably going to do something, some approaches, you're probably going to do something over the weekend because we're there kind of forcing you to. But are you going to then continue it when you go back to your hometown? And of course, you need to continue it. You need to be consistent because social skills are a muscle, and you need to continue to work the muscle, okay? Consistently, right? You go to the gym 2, 3, 4 times a week, whatever, 5 times a week, 6 times a week, whatever you do, you know, whatever your routine is. I like to go most days if I can. I certainly go 5 days. You're not just going to go to the gym once and go, okay, right, job done. Am I jacked now? You know, it just doesn't work like that, right? And it's the same thing with social skills and with dating, particularly if you're somebody who's coming at this from a fairly low baseline, which many of us have. So the role of the coach, as I say, extremely important. It can be extremely impactful. It can be life-changing, in fact. You know, and I don't say that as hyperbole. I say that because it's true. It can be life-changing, and it's just a shame. And obviously, there's going to be cynicism directed at me or anybody else who works in this field, as there's cynicism directed at people who work in a lot of different fields. Okay, it's not exclusive to dating coaches, but there is cynicism, which is a shame, because actually, you know, simultaneously we are aware that a lot of guys are having huge problems with dating, right? They're having huge problems with meeting women. I mean, male virginity has increased threefold, I think, over the last decade. We know that guys often have problems on the apps, you know, finding matches or finding, you know, if they do get matches, are they women that they actually want to interact with or not, you know. And it's a shame in this climate where things seem to be getting more difficult and more challenging. Female expectations have risen exponentially. We have things like Instagram where, you know, it's almost in the dating apps where women potentially are getting hit up by guys all over the planet, and some of the top tier guys all over the planet hitting up that girl who maybe once would only have met people in a local town, right? So it is becoming harder because of the global dating marketplace. But at the same time, as guys, we also have to take responsibility. Like, it's not enough just to say, okay, it's getting harder, boo-hoo, woe is me. You got to think, okay, it's getting harder, but am I really, can I look at myself in the mirror and honestly say that I've done everything I can in order to level myself up? Can I honestly say that I've really done everything I can in order that I am to present myself in the best way that I possibly can? And I think for many guys, the feds, the matrix is coming. I think for many guys, the honest answer is no, right? So, you know, you want to keep your side of the street clean, right? You want to at least do everything that you can possibly do in order to present as the best possible version of yourself, the best possible candidate for dating that you can, okay? And then, you know, I mean, if people just do what we exhort them to do, which is basically 2 or 3 approaches a day, just talking to new people, you can lower the bar. It doesn't need to be some amazing YouTube-worthy conversation. It can just be like, oh, hey, listen, I thought you looked nice, I want to say hello. And she's like, oh, thank you, I've got a boyfriend. Okay, fine, that's one. Do that a couple of times a day. If you do that consistently over a month, you know, you've spoken to 60 new people or 90 new people, you are going to have a stellar dating life, because just through the weight of numbers alone, you know, the likelihood is you're going to meet people who like you, who are attracted to you, okay? There's more to it than that, of course. It's about how you come across and how you present, how you portray yourself. But stripped down to its very easiest, simplest mechanics, you need to be going out there, you need to be interacting with people. Now, a lot of guys find that incredibly difficult. That's fine. It's not a big deal. You know, we've all been there. But again, this is where coaching comes in, because we will give you motivation and accountability to get out there and do what needs to be done. You then need to refine what you are doing within the interactions, because the interactions, particularly the early interactions, need to be as impactful as possible if you're going to stand out from the crowd, okay? I hope that makes sense. I hope that it's given you some insight into dating coaching, but also just some insight into the wider issues that surround dating and the problems that guys have with dating. A lot of the time, you know, we go for easy answers, right? And this is where the whole black pill incel movement comes in, because they will say, well, it's all about looks, all right? If you're not good looking enough, then, you know, you're not going to get traction. But actually, what we know from working with a ton of guys, you know, thousands of guys all over the world, what we know is that it's not so much about looks, it's about the way that you come across, because a guy can be very good looking and he can shoot himself in the foot by coming across as weird or boring or awkward or whatever, and get shot down, whereas he can be less good looking but be really engaging and charismatic in the way that he comes across, and he can, you know, get a lot of attention that way. So it's not as simple as to say, well, it's just about looks, or it's just about money, or it's just about this or that, okay? What it's about is you presenting the product, which is you, okay? You are the product, and game or social skills is the marketing, right? It's about you getting the product as good as possible, but also the marketing as good as possible as well. Because look, you can have the best product in the world, but if you don't tell anybody about it and you don't showcase it, then it's not going to sell, all right? By the same token, you can have an amazing slick marketing campaign, but if the product is shit, it's also not going to sell. So you need to get both of those things in line, and we're here to help you do that and to point out, frankly, where you're fucking up, where you're going wrong, so that you can correct it and you improve over time. Anyway, with that being said, boot camp in Bogota, Colombia is coming up in a few weeks' time. The information on that is below, so have a look at that. The course to the Edge, our course to the Edge version 4, 4th iteration of the Edge is open at the moment. We will be closing it soon. We've got nearly enough students in now, but we will be closing the doors very soon. So if you're interested in that, you can join us for just £494, I think, for an 8-week course, which is quite frankly a steal. You get pre-recorded modules which are drip fed to you each week over the 8 weeks, plus bi-weekly webinars talking about everything from male hormone optimization to fitness to sexual confidence to social dominance, masculine dominance to frame to the dark triad stuff, etc., the game stuff. It's going to be a blast. Loads of experts, loads of cool guys who are going to be there helping out with the coaching in that, as well as myself and Tusk and Les. Yeah, so all the information on that's below, or you can email me troy@realtroyfrancis.com. If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel, give me a comment below, give me a like, give me a thumbs up, whatever, and I'll see you guys again very soon. Bye bye.